What's up, everybody? I tried not to laugh. I couldn't do it. It's February 20th, 2012, and you're watching the newly revived Instant Gratification. This is actually, in total, episode 15 that we've done.
It depends on how you count.
That's true. It depends. There's some anomalies here and there.
This could be version 2.1. It could be episode 15. It may even be episode 17.
We're not quite sure.
We're going to stick with 15, but if you want to go 2.1, if you're, revisionist in that way and you want to forget the past, move to the future, this is how you do it. That's right.
So somewhere in there, for now, I guess we're going to go with 15, but
yes,
however you want to do it. Once again, my name is Bruce, aka Geektacular. You may remember me from such web shows as Instant Gratification many moons ago. But we're back. We're back on the air.
And Wrestle Geek Weekly.
Yes, and Geektacular.TV has its second show ever.
Second.
That's our first additional show
yes.
now called Wrestle Geek Weekly, where we cover pro wrestling news and stuff like that.
We don't.
No, not us, but me and another guy named Sean Hopkins. We cover basically all the weekly pro wrestling news, lead-ups to pay-per-views and stuff like that. So if you're into that kind of thing, be sure to go over to Geektacular.TV and check that out. We do one episode every week, usually every Saturday night or so. So if that's your thing, come on over. Otherwise, right now you are watching Instant Gratification, and on this show, we review Netflix instant watch movies. So that's,
or just online streaming.
Yeah, basically any streaming online movies that you can watch whenever you feel like it. So anything we talk about on here, either you can go onto Netflix and watch it yourself and see what you think of it, or if it's anywhere else, we'll tell you where you can go to watch it there. And yeah, that way, you can either hear us talk about it and see if maybe it's something you're interested in, or maybe you've already seen it and you want to watch it again. We try to always do streaming movies that people can watch so that you can kind of, be involved a little bit.
At the time of recording, at the very least.
Well, yes, yeah. At least when we're recording, it's available online.
Right.
And for those of you not familiar, this is my co-host, a.k.a. my brother, a.k.a. my doppelganger, just Nathan.
Always the original. Don't trust the substitutes.
Do you want to explain to everybody kind of how the show works?
Sure. So each week, or whenever we get around to doing the podcast, one of us picks a movie that we want to watch, usually one that we've seen before and the other person hasn't. We then watch it. We get together. We haven't talked about it beforehand. And we get on this show, we talk about the movie, we talk about the good stuff, the bad stuff, the ridiculous stuff, and then we give it a rating based on our, not really patented, but, our own special 4-point scale, which we'll talk about more later.
I think that about covers it. So yeah, you actually had the pick this week.
Yeah, so it's funny because I've had the pick really for months, I guess, technically.
You've been hoarding the pick.
We've been hoarding the pick. In fact, we have a lost episode that was my pick. We had an untaped episode that was my pick. And now we have another episode that is also my pick. So, instead of talking about those other two movies, I'll stick with the one that we're looking at today, and that is a movie called Red State, which you've probably heard of, or maybe you haven't. This is the latest film by Kevin Smith, one of his last films. He has announced that after his next film, which will actually be broken up into two, that he's done with making movies, but as we've seen, he's not averse necessarily to making TV shows or podcasts or all sorts of other things. The interesting part about this one is that there's a whole funding thing behind it, which is kind of interesting if you're into that sort of thing, but really he hyped the crap out of it if you listened to his podcasts, and you got to see a lot of inside stuff just by listening to him talk about it, And his enthusiasm, I think, really made me interested in it. I can't say that I've loved the past couple of Kevin Smith films. Not that I'm opposed to the kinds of comedy that he does. I enjoy them. I loved Clerks and Mallrats and Chasing Amy and all that. But later films kind of felt like they were retreading a lot of the same ground. So it was interesting when he was saying how much he felt like this one was really sort of his master's thesis in film, and even folks like Quentin Tarantino were saying how much they liked it, and usually they're not ones just to go in for fart jokes. So I was curious. So the film, without giving a whole lot away, we always spoil the bejesus out of films, but we try not to. So I'm going to try not to, at least at the beginning here. Red State is a movie about, well, I guess really about faith and belief, but more general, or more on the story tip, it's about these three teenagers who meet up with a woman that they think is going to have sex with them, and they end up being trapped in the clutches of a militant, basically cult, and then shit goes down. That's pretty much what you can say from there. Yeah, a lot of stuff happens, and it's got a lot of interesting people playing different parts, even if they're big parts, little parts, and we'll probably talk some about that as we get into the good, bad, and the silly. Do you want to hit the good first, or shall I?
I guess I can hit the good first.
Go for it.
I thought it was a very it had a lot of very creepy moments, but not creepy as in like, ew, that's gross, but it had a couple of those, I guess. But it was just like, I feel like the mood that he was going for, like, very kind of unsettling feeling. I feel like that came across really well because I felt really uncomfortable most of the time.
Would you classify it as a horror film?
See, that's the thing. We were talking about it, me and my girlfriend, as we were watching it, and I guess it is. I mean, it's more or less a horror film, but it's not like a horror film like kind of how you think of one with like monsters or
there's certainly suspenseful parts, and I think they do a good job at keeping up that tension, not just through sort of specific scenes, but also in things like the camera work. Mm-hmm. I think they do a good job at using that to keep the tension ratcheted up. The plot itself is kind of interesting because it really is kind of like 3 movies, at least.
Oh yeah, that's kind of true.
You have the beginning piece, which is your almost sort of standard comedic Kevin Smith stuff. Then it gets serious and stays serious for a while, and then you have the end, which is kind of its own thing too.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think the part that sticks with you the most is the suspense and the sort of tense parts of the film.
Yeah, I also for some reason I really like John Goodman's character in the movie. I thought he wasn't funny, but he was sort of funny. I don't know how to describe it. He was I don't know. Like, he didn't crack a lot of jokes or anything, but he was kind of like, I don't know. He's an interesting
character that had to have some life infused into it to be interesting.
Yeah.
And really, much like No Country for Old Men is really about Tommy Lee Jones's character. Spoilers if you haven't seen that movie. The Red State is kind of about John Goodman's character, I think.
Yeah, he doesn't come into the movie until about halfway through, I guess.
Right.
But
well, yeah, between a third and a half, yeah.
Yeah, but I think he really makes like that whole last part of the movie. And yeah, the beginning is very kind of distinctly sort of its own storyline that sort of in the middle gets kind of dropped in lieu of more important things. And then it's
not dropped. I mean, it's a narrative. There is a narrative progression, and I think you need that part.
Right.
To make the other stuff seem more tense. If we had just jumped in on crazy cultists, I don't think it would have had the same impact.
Right.
I think it needed to start light so that when stuff gets dark, you go, ooh, ooh, that's, ooh, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also liked their I liked how they portrayed the cult leader guy.
Michael Parks, in this
Yes.
case.
I thought
Yes, who
he
you
was-
may have seen in other things. Have you?
I don't know. I didn't recognize
He's
him.
been in just about every Quentin Tarantino film
Really?
in small parts. So in Kill Bill, he was the sheriff. I think he was almost that exact same sheriff in From Dusk Till Dawn. I can't remember what he was in Pulp Fiction or if he was in Pulp Fiction. But he's in just about every Quentin Tarantino movie, and there's all sorts of stuff on the podcast about how much both Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino love this guy. And they really wanted him to get an Oscar nomination, which I guess he didn't get for this part. But I could totally understand that reasoning. There are a few scenes in here, and the part's written for him, too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, as well as the John Goodman's part is written for John Goodman, so that may have something to do with it, too. But, yeah, he definitely plays a character who's not, what's the right word, not immediately unlikable. Even though what he has to say is very unlikable. Yeah, and he definitely believes in what he believes in, and he brings an intensity that isn't physical, but is just an ardent believer.
When I was watching him, I don't know if it was the physical appearance or his mannerisms or something, but he reminded me a lot of like Charles Manson.
I can see that.
Like interviews and stuff that I've seen with him online and things like that. Like he reminds me. He has like sort of the same kind of like absent-minded, like he makes like random noises and just says things that don't really make sense and kind of like hops around all happy and uses really weird colloquialisms and stuff.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
It's very like it was very believable, I guess. So I really liked it, and I guess one other thing, I specifically at least, that I liked about it was that at near the very beginning, they kind of show like a really long segment of like one of their sermons.
Yes.
And it was a little long, but I thought it was interesting that they went through that whole thing, which lasted maybe like 5 or 10 minutes or something. It was pretty long. But they weren't like, they didn't immediately portray them as being like a violent group of people.
Right.
Like off the bat, they didn't seem like super crazy. But you know, slowly that becomes apparent.
Although I will say, if you watch the movie more than once, you'll notice that the very first violent act that you hear about in the movie was perpetrated by them.
Yes, I did notice that when
Did you pick up on that?
when they revealed what was under that sheet.
No. Before that.
No, yeah.
The funeral they were. Oh, you got what was going on previously. I understand.
Yeah, I realized that when they revealed that in the church. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because for a while it kind of just sounds like, you know, they're just a really like spiritual group of people. It doesn't quite sound. It doesn't seem really crazy at first. Like it just seems, you know, like a normal, you know, people going to church or whatever. And then it quickly becomes weird and terrible.
Yes.
But
Yes.
at the beginning, you're kind of like, oh, well, these, you know, it's just a bunch of people who go to church, and that's, you know, whatever. But so I thought that was kind of interesting that they didn't introduce that group of people being, you know, ultra violent and ultra, you know, dangerous. They introduced them as being harmless, and then they moved from there, you know, to the extreme. So
Well, and everybody are basically just people, and they have, you know, some people want to try to use weird iPhone apps to get laid, and other people want to wrap people in saran wrap and kill them, and other people just want to do their jobs and get to retirement and don't want to have to do crazy stuff. You know. Yeah, I mean, I think in general one of the things we've said is that the casting has been very good, and I think that that's true even for some of the smaller parts. I mean, and not a smaller part, but the person that really stands out to me in the cast is and I don't remember her name, but the younger girl from the church church group, the teenage girl. Cheyenne.
Yes.
Her name
yeah. She's one of the mothers, right?
She's not a mother.
Oh no,
she's
those were
grandchild.
sisters.
No.
Yes.
She's the grandchild of Michael Parks' character, the daughter of Melissa Leo's character, the one that runs out and tries to save the kids.
Yeah, but she's the sister of those kids, right? Of like two of them.
Yeah, she's the sister of the kids.
Right, that's what I meant.
At least of one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they're from a few different families, probably. So probably there's some cousins or just other people that she knows in the mix.
Right.
But I thought she did a really good job, as did her mother, who won an Oscar while she was filming that movie, I think.
Oh, really?
Or just she started filming it, one or the other. Yeah, she won an Oscar last year. For some movie I didn't watch, but anyway, but I thought a lot of the casting was really good. The teenagers were the teenagers, so that wasn't that big of a deal. Kevin Smith's wife is in the movie. I don't know if you noticed which one she was, but she was one of the she was the dark-haired woman in the church who's up on the roof at one point.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember her. I did not know that was his wife, though.
Yeah, and there's other, things like that in the movie. The teenagers were the only weak part as far as I was concerned. I didn't know that any of them were particularly stellar, the teenage boys. But in general, the casting was really good. Kevin Pollak being in, even for as short a time as he's on camera, was great. Stephen Root's an interesting choice, but I think he did a good job, too. There's a lot of really good acting in this movie, for sure.
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of good things about it, I think.
Yeah. You mentioned, for example, the sermon scene. I don't know what you thought about the writing in general. I feel like that it was... There's some moments where it slips. In other words, I can hear Kevin Smith's voice explicitly coming out of someone's mouth, which I don't love. Just little catchphrases and things that if you listen to his podcast, you can pick up on immediately. Other than that, I think that it was well written and certainly sort of well cut together so that the narrative really works, even though it is a few different not kinds of stories, but just very different tones through different points of the film.
Right. Yeah, that's funny that you said that. I was actually going to mention that. I think it's just the way Kevin Smith is. I think if he writes a monologue that's long enough, eventually it's going to start to sound like him.
Well, it wasn't even in that. It was usually in small moments of John Goodman speaking.
Really?
Anytime anyone says the word whatnot, that usually is bad. Or for me, because it takes me out of it. And then a couple of the little sort of funny lines that John Goodman says that don't really make sense. Like the tagline, what was it? Oh, shoot. The situation just shit itself or something like that. Like that wouldn't really make sense. And there are a couple others. I mean, I did laugh at a couple of parts. The best line, I thought, as far as funny lines, was I thought Craigslist was Craigslist for getting laid. But other than that, overall, I mean, I thought it was well written and especially I think well edited. There's a few scenes in particular that I could point to. Kevin Smith's probably best known for shooting straight, kind of like our setup is. Straight on, people talking to each other. That's pretty much it, or two people sitting talking to each other. But the scene where the kid is trying to escape out of the house and trying all the different doors, that I think was well put together. A lot of the back and forth action stuff works pretty well, I think. Mm-hmm. And you're brought to a point where you're not shown a whole lot, and you're sort of having to experience it like the characters are, which I think is probably the best way to do it. If we had had more of a bird's eye view of everything, mm-hmm. I don't think that would have worked.
Yeah, that's true. It was a large... It escalates into a large situation, but it's very focused on individual people.
Right. And really, you could have done this as a play, probably. I mean, aside from the beginning and the end, mm-hmm. and just a few minutes in the beginning, a few minutes in the end. The whole thing pretty much takes place at one location.
Yeah, that's true.
So it is kind of interesting in that respect that, it still doesn't have a whole lot of movement in terms of place. Not that, some of Kevin Smith's movies certainly have had lots of different locations and stuff like that. But in this case, it is a pretty small film in that respect. But it doesn't feel that way, I don't think.
No, it does. I mean, you're right, it is. It only takes place in a couple different locations, but yeah, it doesn't. I mean, it seems like a normal budget movie and everything. It doesn't seem like they were filming it on shoestrings or anything. So it still feels very, very natural, the places that they do shoot. And I think it would have been weird if they introduced too many more places, because it's all kind of based around this compound, cult compound place. So
do you have other good things you want to point out?
I can't think of anything else specifically.
Okay. How about bad stuff? Do you have a bad note or two?
Yeah, I think so. Well, it suffers from a standard sort of action scene problem.
Okay.
During the last part, I guess we can spoil a little bit, or else I can't talk about this.
Wait, are you talking about the very end?
Yeah.
Try not to spoil too much.
Okay, well,
because I want to talk about the ending too, but we don't have to say exactly what went on.
Right. Let me think of a way to phrase this. The people that come in to deal with the situation near the end,
okay,
they seem very inept at what they do.
Wait. Are you talking about the FBI people?
Yes.
Oh, we can talk about them. That's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. Yes, the FBI comes in. John Gridman's part of that. They seem inept as far as they can't hit the broadside of a barn. Is that what you mean?
I mean, there's like people standing in windows shooting like automatic weapons at them with like, they're super obvious. And this is like an FBI like special SWAT team. And
all you armed forces members out there, send your comments directly to Geektacular. Geektacular.
But no, they comment. They're like,
he's saying that it's easy to shoot people while in combat.
No, I'm just saying they're like 50 yards away. They just have like some assault rifles. They apparently have no like sharpshooters or anything. Because somebody with a scope could have ended that whole thing in like 5 minutes.
But that's not what they were expecting. To be fair, that's not what they were expecting.
I question the combat abilities of that team.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. But anyway, that's a common action sequence problem in most movies.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be pretty boring, most likely, I think, probably.
Yeah.
So, I had that complaint. Like, I was just thinking that the whole time it was going on. I was like, man, this is ridiculous. Did you think I was talking about the very, very end?
Well, I want to save that, because I'd like to talk about that in our silly section. Not that it's silly, but that's just sort of the place where we talk about other stuff that's not maybe good or bad, but we want to talk about. So let's hold off on that for the moment. I'll throw out another bad, though. I think that the beginning and the end both suffer a little bit. I think that the ending, in a lot of ways, is kind of unnecessary. I feel like it's like, let's close up the story. Here's 10 minutes to finish. Because it's a talking scene. The very, very end is just a talking scene. And I feel like it was trying to just tie up all the loose threads that were going on. I didn't really love it for that. I thought it was a little sloppy. The beginning, I think we could have done with less of. I think you needed some of it. But frankly, I was wanting to fast forward. Watching it a second time, I didn't really have any use for it. Again, it's got a funny line in it, but other than that, there's not really much
it's a very
use for it. I could have started with them in the car driving down the road, and they could have talked for a minute and a half while they were in the car. And it would have done the same job, I think.
Well, did you like the part when they were at school with the teacher? Did you think that did anything?
No, I didn't think any of that was helpful. I thought that, again, they were trying to set up something, I guess. Is that the right word?
I thought probably that teacher's dialogue was, for me, like the worst dialogue in the movie.
I agree. It seemed like it was put in to try to give more context.
Yeah.
And I don't think you needed to explicitly tie them with the Phelps.
Mm. They did that at one point, but yeah, I didn't think that was...
I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I mean, they basically show you, like, an identical scene to, like, a real-life Westboro Baptist Church scene.
Well, actually, and that was interesting in as much as you got to see them first that way.
That's true. Yeah. I forgot that they were kind of introduced that way.
There's sort of a juxtaposition. But again, you could have driven by and dealt with that. I don't know. I thought the high school parts were the weaker parts, perhaps.
Yeah, I'd actually think I would have rather seen them first, like, in their own compound, like, by themselves. I think that when they drive by and they're protesting at that funeral, I don't really think that added anything. I think it kind of detracted a little bit because you see them as kind of like crazy right up front.
It's already set up for you that way when you see them in the church.
Right. And then...
Yeah, it might have been more of a surprise, or not surprise, but have more of an impact if you hadn't seen that initially.
Exactly, yeah. I would have rather seen them like being all peaceful and nice and, you know, talking about the Bible and stuff. And then all of a sudden it gets like weird and...
Boom, it gets real.
Yeah. Boom. Yeah, I think I would have rather that. So I kind of agree with that.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, those are pretty much my biggest bad things. The use of music is not good in this film, but the few places that it's used, or the one place that I can remember that it's used, is when they're in the car and they have music playing for like 15 seconds for no good reason, and then they shut it off and they talk. And, like, I was trying to figure out, is this somebody that Kevin Smith knows that, you know, just wanted their song put in or something?
I'll totally put your song in my movie, man.
And it was really loud for some reason. Like, just in the mix, it was super loud, and that didn't make sense.
I didn't really notice that, but that's a good catch.
I'm always weird about music in films, you know this. That bugs me.
There's almost, like, no music anywhere else in the film.
No, it's very... I mean, there is music in that they sing sometimes.
Yeah.
Like Michael Parks' character sings gospel tunes. And in fact, there is an album of him singing old gospel songs if you wanted to completely creep yourself out. I can't... why? Why would you want that?
Did it come out after the movie?
Huh?
Did it come out after
It came out right around the same time as the movie. I think they released it online before the film actually came out.
Okay.
I know they put out one track for free.
So it wasn't just like a coincidence that he happened to have done that and done this.
Oh no! It's a part of the movie merchandising.
Okay, gotcha.
He recorded them specifically for the movie.
Gotcha. That's super creepy. I don't know why you would ever want that.
Exactly. No, that didn't make much sense to me either.
Oh, also another part I probably can't talk about, but I really want to.
What part is that?
Oh man, this is the worst of the worst. This is like the bottom of the barrel. The part that made me like physically just be like, "Oh my god, what are you doing?" I don't think I can say it though without ruining everything.
We can always cut it out, right? Can we remove it in post?
Yeah. Okay, so there's a part where I'll just say that there's a part where somebody's trying to get away. They're trying to escape somewhere.
Yes.
Okay, and there's not many avenues to escape out of.
Correct.
It's a pretty locked down compound.
Correct.
And at one point, this person who's trying to escape the situation, he's armed.
Oh.
He blows right past all of his captors.
Yes.
And runs away.
Yes.
Like, what? that made me really annoyed. Like, he was...
Why?
Just...
They weren't expecting it.
Oh, you know what they also aren't expecting? An assault rifle in the face. Why didn't you just shoot them all?
No, that... Okay, now, to be fair, that was a question that I think I had initially, too, was if you have assault rifle and you are sneaking up on evil people, why do you not shoot them all? I think it's one of two things.
Okay.
I think one is that at that point, it was all about survival. He was not particularly interested in sticking around and trying to get revenge or whatever. He wanted to get the hell out, which I could understand. The other thing is I think if you think about it a little more, for all he knew, everyone had a gun hidden under their pew or whatever, and if he started shooting, he couldn't guarantee that he would kill everyone, unlike your inept FBI agents. This kid is 16 or 17 or whatever, and probably has never handled an assault rifle before. So I think it probably has more to do with the first thing than the second thing, in that he was just thinking about saving his butt and getting out of there.
I don't know if I was supposed to misread that scene while it was happening, but I totally misread it. I thought he was gonna go postal.
Well, I think they definitely make it look like that's a possibility.
Okay, so it's not just me.
I think I prefer the end result in the film better than him just trying to shoot everybody.
I don't know. I don't know. Blaze of Glory doesn't sound... I don't know. It could have gone both ways, I guess.
Okay, so I guess let's go into...
I don't think we gave away too much, right?
No, I think that's fine. People get killed in this movie. That should not be a surprise to anyone.
There's a lot of people.
It's all right. People get killed. There's a lot of bullets traded back and forth. But then there's a part that I really don't want to spoil, but I do want us to talk about a little bit, which will come to our third segment, which we still need a name for. The bizarre, the wolfish, the strange, whatever. Not the very end,
no,
but the event that occurs towards the end of the action.
The event that he summarizes at the very end.
The dramatic climax, if you will.
Yes.
Yes. Good or bad? What do you think? I have gone back and forth on this quite a bit, from thinking that it was a silly sort of Deus Ex Machina to thinking that it ties in interestingly with the whole discussion of faith. And I think that's really what it's meant to be, and I'm willing to sort of take it on that front. But what do you think?
I don't know. The way that...
What was your first impression? When it happened, what was your impression?
The way that it's presented... It doesn't. The way that they present it, it doesn't give you a real. It doesn't give you a realistic idea of what you're seeing.
Well, again, you're seeing it from the character's perspective,
right,
and not from the sort of God level perspective where you can actually see everything that's going on.
Right. So yeah, when it started, I was just like, what the heck. And then I don't know. I don't want to give anything away. Basically, it happens. The thing happens, and you see most of it. And then,
maybe we can do a spoilery bonus episode where we can just
I forgot about our bonus episode
specifically.
Yes. But yeah, you see most of it, and then it cuts to later, and you get
to the denouement where it's explained, and
right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was interesting splitting it up like that, because it does give it sort of a mysterious kind of quality that maybe otherwise it may not have had, or something like that. But at the very end, when it's recounted,
right.
it definitely introduces some interesting doubt about things. So I thought it was good. I didn't dislike it. I don't know. It was. I don't. It gave you sort of a little spark of wonder, kind of at the end.
Yeah.
Where, like, even though. Oh, go ahead.
I think it could have been equally, if not more effective, to end in a different way. That is to sort of, and maybe we can again talk about this more in a bonus episode, but end in the way that it seemed like that everything was going to end.
Mm-hmm.
The way that it was sort of inevitably going to have to end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could have created its own interesting questions about faith and belief and things like that too. But it is, I mean, and the denouement scene, again, is not my favorite for a variety of reasons. I think it could have been tightened a little bit. I didn't like them telling me things rather than showing me things. And I think some of the dialogue, especially on the part of some of the FBI agents, just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But I can see the ending as being sort of the most controversial part about it. Not the very end, but the dramatic climax, if you will.
Right.
So I was just curious as to your thoughts.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's effective, but I think he could have easily gone another way, and it could have been just as, if not more, effective.
Yeah. The way that they do it, you kind of expect things to happen one way, and then it abruptly sort of changes. The plan changes a little bit at the kind of near sort of the climax of the last part. So yeah, I think it could have gone either way, and I think they could have played it off pretty well. I didn't much like the very end, the very end, where they recount things and stuff.
I mean, the talking part. Right?
Yeah, it does give it some closure, but I didn't really feel like it needed it. Really, I don't know.
No, I mean, well, it needed it.
Well,
because
in this situation, it needed it.
In this situation, it needed it. But I think you could have done another version where you didn't.
Yeah, I think if the original plan panned out, I think that would have been completely unnecessary.
Right, but the movie would have been an hour long, and I feel like to a certain extent, I mean, it's 88 minutes. It's barely, in that realm. But I can't imagine. Well, they didn't really show it in many theaters, and I don't know how much play it would get on, cable. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess some, but...
Well, they would have to censor out so much of it.
Well, if it was on HBO or something,
well,
they wouldn't.
Yeah,
But no, I mean, on TBS or something like that. There's not there's not a huge amount of foul language in it, but there definitely is enough violence, I think, that you'd have to watch out for that.
I think also just in terms of the genre, like the type of movie it is, it's just kind of weird. Like, 'cause it's not like a traditional horror movie.
No,
where,
I wouldn't say
stuff pops out of the closet or whatever. It's not like a thriller. It's not like just a drama. It's more gory, more it's got more action than just a standard drama. Mm-hmm. So like it's sort of in the middle, kind of.
Yeah. I would say that.
I could see why maybe it wouldn't get as much play as a more sort of traditional movie that fell into one of those categories.
Right.
But I also one more thing.
Go ahead.
I think they should make it abundantly clear before you watch this movie that I think Kevin Smith just should not have put his name on the movie.
Why?
Because I was totally not expecting this kind of movie.
I think maybe that was a good thing then.
No, it's. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't put his name on it because it was bad or something, because it was good. But I don't think people should call it a Kevin Smith movie.
But it is a Kevin Smith.
I know, but you say, hey,
you're trying to say if you liked Clerks and Dogma,
if you liked every other movie he's ever made, this is nothing like any of them.
Right. Well, okay, that's fair to say. It's not like any other movies, but I think it actually says that on the box. Like, this is different from every other movie he's made, blah, blah, blah. And that's what a lot of the media was about. An unlikely film from that Kevin Smith. So there you go.
See, it does say it on the poster, but I feel like I don't feel like I can call I can't I would feel wrong saying to somebody, "Hey, do you want to watch this Kevin Smith movie with me? Like, it'll be a lot of fun." Oh wait, like.
Well, hopefully now that you've seen it, you wouldn't say that.
No.
But as to what you would say to someone about this, that brings up our rating scale. We need a graphic for this at some point.
Rating scale.
That music, but I was thinking more of a visual. But anyway, we have a 4-point scale. We have buy, stream, skip, and clip. Or clip and skip. Excuse me. Jeez, it's been a while. Okay, so the first one, buy. Buy means you like it so much you want to keep it at home. You want to watch the special features, which, by the way, this has no director's commentary, which is lame.
What? But Kevin Smith didn't do director's commentary?
Well, but there are hours and hours of podcasts answering questions about it and talking about the production of it, and there's behind-the-scenes documentaries and other stuff like that. So there's a lot of backup.
I guess that counts.
So if you wanted that sort of stuff, then you would buy it. Streaming means that you enjoy watching it on Netflix. You would recommend it probably to people to watch, maybe watch a couple of times, but probably not too much more than that. And if it went away, it wouldn't be the end of the world for you. Clip means that there's good parts, but overall not great. In the past that I've used other Kevin Smith movies to describe the perfect clip, like I watched all the funny parts of Clerks 2 online without watching the actual movie. And it was much shorter that way. And then skip is like the movie Frozen. Just movies that are not good, full of wolves that want to kill you, which, by the way, we will need to watch The Grey once it comes out on Netflix Instant Watch.
I saw the I saw the trailer for that.
Because that basically looks like, instead of Iceman fighting wolves, you now have Ra's al Ghul fighting wolves. So.
Oh, I forgot our wolf, our rated W icon. I'll have to bring that back.
Oh, rated W for wolf. Anyway. All right, so, Bruce, ratings.
I'm going to rate this one. The good thing is that I'm not going to sound redundant anymore because we haven't done this in a while. So I can reset the redundancy check here.
If he says solid stream, it means he's sticking to the same thing.
Don't tell them they haven't seen the other. Oh my gosh, they haven't seen the other episodes.
Go back and watch the past episodes.
Okay, all right, fine. Damn it.
Solid stream, isn't it?
It's a high. I'm gonna give it a high stream.
High stream.
I'm gonna give it more. It's more than a solid stream. It's a recommended stream.
Wow.
A Bruce certified stream. I think it's a really good. I think it's a really good movie if you go into it expecting the right kind of movie. So if you're not expecting to see Clerks 3,
yeah,
then you'll probably like it. If you want kind of like a creepy, weird sort of horror, a little bit of thriller kind of movie, I would say that this is pretty good. I will give the one caveat that if you don't mind some vulgarity here and there, then you'll like it. There are some probably gratuitously vulgar scenes here and there.
Well,
the whole
typically
premise
these
of the
ratings,
first part of the movie is inherently vulgar.
Typically, these ratings refer to us and our tastes. They might not be to your tastes, and that's fine.
Right. So if you don't like that, then that might be offensive. Or if you're offended really easily by like religious kind of stuff, you might not like it. But if you like good sort of creepy horror thriller sort of movies, I think this is a good one to watch. And you might even watch it, once or twice, and maybe pick up something the second time. I think this, because of sort of how the end of the movie goes, this might be a good movie to watch twice. Just so you can see the beginning sort of in context after the fact. And I feel like this is one of those movies where there's probably stuff kind of hidden in there that you don't really notice at first. Like the first time.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, honestly, knowing a little bit about some of the background and hearing some of the stuff that Smith talks about on his podcasts and things like that do give you a little bit of context as well, because you notice stuff like his wife is in the movie, or that the guy Caleb the one that doesn't talk. He's actually a guy that's on K-Rock, I believe. He does he's on the morning radio in LA and does hundreds of different impressions, it seems, and does a podcast with Smith called Hollywood Babylon that's very funny. But he's a really funny guy normally and tends to be in comedic roles, and in this he's just cold-blooded and silent, which is hilarious. And it's funny, too, because people make fun of it all the time. Like, next time you might get a sentence in Kevin Smith's movie. Darn. He's only making one more. What is he going to let you say hello next time? You know. And apparently there was a line for him originally in the movie, but they cut it because he seemed creepier without speaking.
Oh, no.
Which actually worked. I actually think worked. I think he was better not talking. I mean, you don't really notice it, but...
Right.
It works that way, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anywho, little stuff like that is kind of boosted. So, this is a tough one for me. I think that I would probably put it in the buy category, because I think there's enough background stuff on the DVD to be interesting. Again, many hours of behind-the-scenes stuff, documentary stuff. If you're into that sort of thing, I think you'd really enjoy it. I think that the project goes beyond the movie, and so if you're into, again, that kind of project, it's a good one to look at in that respect. I enjoy it. I don't know that I'll enjoy his next film because it's all about hockey, but I enjoyed this one. I'm willing to pick and choose. I don't have to be a Kevin Smith lover of everything he does. I don't listen to all the podcasts. I don't watch all the movies. I don't particularly like all the movies. But there's a couple that I like and that I'll probably always enjoy for various reasons. And, it looks like this may be one of them. So.
Well, there you go. Awesome. Anything else about this movie before we head out?
I think that's all. Like I said, we may have to do a bonus episode where we get to talk more spoilerifically about the ending. But other than that, I think I'm good.
Yeah, for those of you unfamiliar with instant gratification from the past, usually when we start talking about a movie, we get ourselves so worked up about stuff that we can't contain it. And we have to talk about really spoilery sort of things.
Or we talk about the Journeyman Project for 20 minutes.
Or we talk about some ridiculous tangent, very vaguely involving the film.
Very vaguely involving the film.
Usually we hit something that we have to talk about. And it's usually pretty funny, so we sometimes will put up sort of an extra just couple minute episode. So
it's not required watching. It's a bonus feature, if you will.
It's not in the official canon, I wouldn't say.
It's a special feature. That's right.
Yeah. So I'll just go through the whole rigmarole here. My name is Bruce, aka Geektacular. Once again, you can find me on Twitter at Geektacular. In case you didn't notice, during the show, we have all of our social media links for Geektacular.TV down here.
We're so technologically advanced now.
Ooh. So,
do you have my Twitter handle?
I don't think I have it.
Lame.
I'll have to add it for next time.
Lame.
I'm sorry.
You got Sean's up there, not your own brother's, but I bet you could fill up Sean's right now if you wanted to.
Be sure to catch Just Nathan at Just Nathan.
It's easy to remember.
JUSTNATHAN at Just Nathan.
Correct.
I'll spell it really explicitly since I don't have it on the screen.
That's fine. That's fine. We'll get it next time. I don't tweet on there very much anyway.
And then, do you have any podcast things incoming soon?
Well, let's see. I do a weekly podcast, which actually hasn't been released on the web yet, but hopefully will be starting this coming week for my job.
Boo.
Yeah, well... and I don't know if they'll want me to mention it here or not, so I will clear it with them before I start talking about it. But that's the only one I've got going on right now.
Cool.
Look for others in the future. I'm trying to convince Mr. Geektacular here that I should head up the audio arm of the Geektacular family, but he just ignores me when I talk about it.
People gotta feel this is the moneymaker right here. Right here. Just
stealing from my own image. I should sue you for infringement.
Don't hate. Don't hate. Don't hate the beard.
It's the original, baby. The original.
Anyway,
thanks for watching.
No, wait. Just what are you doing? Oh my gosh. Follow us on Twitter at Geektacular.TV. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Geektacular.TV. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Geektacular.TV. And you can add us to your circles on Google Plus at gplus.2/Geektacular.TV. Or Geektacular.TV, sorry. Also, be sure to check out, like we mentioned at the top of the show, our other show, Wrestle Geek Weekly, airs every Saturday night on Geektacular.TV. If you're interested in seeing all of our previous episodes, they're available for viewing on Geektacular.TV. We have all of our archives there. We might move them over to YouTube at some point now that we're able to.
I don't know if we want to do that.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But if you're interested in seeing them, there's 14 previous episodes, so there's a lot of stuff there. And plus bonus episodes for half of those, I think. So if you're interested in that, go over there, check those out. Those are pretty cool. Otherwise, we'll probably try to make this a weekly thing, I would imagine, maybe on Mondays?
Well, it depends on if you can actually get the movies watched.
Speaking of that, be sure to check our website or check our Twitter account for the movie for next week.
I think we'll probably tweet that, yes.
Yeah, I'll tweet that out as soon as we have that. So be sure to follow us there so you can find out as soon as possible what our show is going to be next week.
And hey, post a comment about it, or on Facebook maybe we can put up a post and you can tell us what you think about the movie before the show, and maybe we'll even talk about it on the show.
Yeah, if you guys have any opinions, you can feel free to tweet them to us.
Wait. I'm sorry. We're asking the internet for opinions?
Everybody, tweet your opinions on everything to us.
No, God.
What do you think of this new healthcare system we have?
Geektacular.
At Geektacular.TV.
At Geektacular.TV. That's who you want to send it to.
If you have any opinions specifically about the show or a movie we're covering, feel free to tweet us. And maybe if it's good enough, if it's funny, if it makes us laugh, maybe we'll talk about it on the next show. You never know.
We're getting loopy. Can we end the show?
Yeah, we can end the show. Thanks for watching. Geektacular.TV, instant gratification every week. Bruce, Nathan, peace out.
I can't hear the music, but I'm sure it's great.
It's like I'm driving a wagon.
Like you're driving a wagon?
A little red dot across the map.
Ah, yes. The Oregon Trail.
Indeed.